The views or opinions expressed on Ann Arbor Inclusive do not necessarily reflect the views or opinions of the City of Ann Arbor and the Commission on Disability Issues. For more information about the Ann Arbor Commission on Disability Issues, please visit a2gov.org/disability resources.
Hello everyone and welcome to Ann Arbor Inclusive. I'm Zach Damon. We have a wonderful show for you today as Debbie Dayton and Jan Crawford of Leader Dogs for the Blind join us in studio. So for those that don't know, what is a leader dog and why are they important, Debbie?
A leader dog is actually a guide dog for someone who is blind or visually impaired. And that dog allows us to gain our independence and to travel safely at the same time in any environment. Now, leader dog itself is actually a brand name because there's many guide dog schools across the country and internationally. But leader dog, there's only one campus for that, and it's actually in Rochester Hills, right here in Michigan, at the corner of Avon and Rochester Road.
Now, you said that they've been around since 1939. So have both of you noticed an increase in the organization, and has it been growing? Well, what are your thoughts on that?
Definitely I have, because I've been familiar with the organization. I got my first dog in 2001. His name was Joshua, and he was also a male golden, as Patrick is down here to my right. And what I have seen is just differences even in the training, the instruction. When I first got Joshua, we didn't use treats. And then when I got Patrick, it was kind of half and half. We were starting to get into maybe some treat training, but not completely. Now I know, because of a lot of the work that Jan does and the instructors, that now a lot of it is treat trained. That's what we do. So I've seen differences in the training. I've also seen differences in the programs, because it continues to grow with the ever-changing times. For instance, at one point we didn't have roundabouts or electric cars. So the environment changes, and what's great about Leader Dog is they continue to evolve with those changes.
Sure.
And we also have done that through technology. For instance, at one point we were the only guide dog school in North America to give GPS units to blind or visually impaired clients.
Is that right?
Yes,
Wow.
and that's something all of you that have sight are very familiar with.
Sure.
But for us, we're not always able to adapt to that type of equipment that you were using at one point. So Leader Dog helped develop an actual GPS unit that we place around our neck, and at any point I can say, for instance, where am I? And it will tell me my location.
And
Now,
too, with the puppy raiser, I'm sorry, Zach, I didn't mean to interrupt there, but
go ahead.
But Mason is my 7th puppy, and Mason's a year old next week, and with the puppy raising portion of it, they are always tweaking what we do. So there's certain demands that are made of us puppy raisers, and from 7 years ago to today, it's just, I have so much better understanding, obviously, from experience, but like Deb said, the treat training, the positive experience that we have with the dogs. So when they do something right, we want to reward them and let them know that. So that has made a big difference from my first puppy to my 7th puppy here. So yes, so they're evolving with everything, even with us puppy raisers and how we raise the puppies.
Well, and speaking of puppy raising, I think you bring up a lot of great points, but can you talk about, you know, we talked before the show, and you brought up a term to me that was very interesting. You said the puppy timeline.
Yes.
So can you talk a little bit about that and what that is?
In the beginning, there is the mom and the dad, obviously, and they are put together at Leader Dog, and then the female is taken home with what we call a host home. So this female dog is living in a home. She has the puppies in a home environment. So these folks that have these host home females, the puppies are born, they keep the puppies in that home for about 6 weeks, 6 to 7 weeks. They wean the puppies from the mom, and then the puppies go to Leader Dog for about 1 to 2 weeks.
Okay.
They get a complete physical exam, make sure everything's okay before they put them into the system. So then that's where the Jans of the world, the puppy raisers, come on in, and we're like, okay, now we are going to pick up our puppy. We put in an application. You know, the first application usually takes the longest. After we have the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th puppy, we can usually drop off our fully grown puppy and pick up our new puppy the same day.
Sure.
So we pick up the puppy, and it's anywhere from 8 weeks, 7 to 8 weeks old.
Okay.
So it's just a little tiny ball of fur.
Oh.
And Leader Dog just started within the last year, again, tweaking the program, making things happen differently. They're
Sure.
asking the host home folks to start training these dogs.
Oh, wow.
So can you imagine the dog's just walking, just seeing, so you have this 4-week little furry thing that learns how to sit before it's fed. So we get home with the first day with our puppy that's 6 or 7 weeks old, 7 or 8 weeks old actually. We get ready to feed that puppy, and it already knows how to sit before it's fed. So that's
Wow.
one of the things that we normally had to do beforehand. Mason, can you go down? Thank you. So we have this little puppy that's got some little bit of basic training. Then we go on and we have a counselor that we actually have to see at least once a month. That's
Okay.
required of us.
Wow.
And with that counselor, we have usually 20 to 40 puppies in the class. But that counselor, we can call them at any time, but we meet with these people, we do puppy outings, we do a lot of things with this group of people. So it kind of is a really nice, a lot of people say, oh, are you trained to be a puppy raiser? Yes and no.
Okay.
A lot of it is experience, but a lot of it is also from our puppy counselors telling us, yes, Leader Dog would like us to do it this way because
Sure.
of this. And what we're actually doing is we are setting the foundation for the professional trainers to take over when we turn them back into Leader Dog.
Okay.
So we keep the puppies for 1 year, basically. Pick him up at 7, 8 weeks of age, turn him in about 13, 14 months. So now we have this completely, basically trained, so we hope, puppy that we turn back into Leader Dog. But along the way, it's interesting because I own a business called Westland Lock and Key in Westland, Michigan. So I take my puppies to work with me. So I have a customer clientele that are always watching my puppies grow, and they're helping me with what we call distraction training because we can't throw balls for these dogs. We can't throw frisbees. We can't play tug of war. There are certain things that we are asked not to do just because we don't want the dogs to do that. You can only imagine if Deb had Patrick here and he went after a frisbee while she was walking down the road,
Yeah, geez.
or a
Wouldn't
bouncing
be a
ball.
pleasant sight.
And it's actually, we have to program the dog almost out of the dog, like deprogram
Sure.
them, because we don't want them chasing squirrels
Right.
and birds and leaves that blow across the road. And that takes a while to get that done. Some dogs do it very well, and others, well, they're challenged with it, which is okay. You know, they're a dog at the end of the day, so
Sure.
some of them get it better than others. So there are certain things along the way that are kind of unique to service dog training. And I've learned a lot, and I have a lot of people question me, oh, how does a dog ever get to be a dog then? Absolutely. When he's out of this jacket or Patrick is off harness, this puppy is a puppy. It runs and leaps and jumps and barks, and you know, he's just knows. And so
Yeah.
it's pretty cool. When I put the jacket on, I'm kind of training him, okay, the jacket resembles a harness. Patrick is wearing a harness.
Right.
So I put the jacket on him, take it off. When I put the jacket on, he knows we're working.
Well, when he suits up, he knows
He
it's
suits
time to
up,
go.
he
That's
knows
right.
he's working. So it's like flipping the switch.
Yeah, it's
So-
like an on-off switch.
Yes, like an on and off. So we actually take the dogs for the year and then turn them back into Leader Dog. And from Leader Dog, they're going to work with these dogs for another approximately 4 to 6 months.
Okay.
Professional trainers.
Wow.
And there are several teams of these trainers. So he's going to go to a team of trainers and a team of handlers. They're going to give him all of his shots. They're going to neuter or spade him. He's already been chipped as a puppy, so he's
Okay.
got the little chip implanted in him already.
Okay.
They're going to make sure that there's a certain amount of puppies that are turned in the month, and a certain amount that come out. Approximately, the number I heard last time was like 40 come in and 40 go out. So of those 40, they're going to take a female and a male and look at them for the breeding program.
Okay.
Because then they go back in and it's all Leader Dog stock. So from day one, you know, they used to use a lot of, or some outside dogs to breed
Sure.
into the stock, but now it's pretty much all Leader Dog. So we are, you know, rebuilding the Canine Development Center.
Right.
And we're going to house, now these puppies, when we turn them back in, they're going to go into a kennel with another dog. which is really great. So they're going to have a buddy system,
There we go.
which is a great thing because there is a disqualification process. Some of these puppies make it, some of them don't,
Okay.
which is great. You know, they just want to be a dog or they can be a service dog, you know.
Now, what
So
happens to the puppies, excuse me, but what happens to the puppies that don't make it?
that's the big question that's always asked of us. The
Okay.
puppies that are disqualified, now all the puppies that are going to be born February 1st and above, if they disqualify from the program, they're going to try to fit those puppies into 4 other places. And this is just news to us that we just got this in last month. It's a canine advocacy program they'll go into.
Okay.
Service assistant dog, so maybe they don't want to be a leader dog, but they may be a service dog for another entity, Paws for a Cause, something like
Oh,
that.
got it. Okay.
Dogs for disabled veterans. A lot of the veterans just need a buddy.
An emotional
An
support.
emotional
though.
support.
Yes.
Right.
And also working dogs like law enforcement, search and rescue, that type of thing.
Okay.
So just because the dog doesn't necessarily qualify to be a leader dog, that doesn't mean they could be a great service dog in one of these other fields.
Sure.
So if all of that goes away and it's just like, no, this dog just wants to be a dog,
Yeah.
then it will go, then the puppy raiser gets a call and says, would you like the puppy back? Or they will put it on our adoption program.
Wow.
And so then there's a waiting list of these puppies that are going to be adopted out. We ask for a $1,000 donation
Okay.
if you do get one of these adopted puppies, and you have to be qualified as a family or an individual to get one.
Really?
So yeah, it's really kind of a cool process. They don't just give them to anybody.
So do you apply for that?
You
How does
apply for that,
Okay.
you wait for that. I've heard some people, if you don't care what kind of breed you get, now we have 3 different breeds we're working with. We have obviously Labrador Retrievers, we have Goldens, and then we have a few Shepherds in the program still.
Okay.
So yeah, so that's kind of it in a nutshell. And then once the professional trainers take over and the dog does qualify, then it goes into the client's area, and that's where Deb kind of steps in and can walk you along. Okay, so it's still the puppy timeline.
Sure.
But it's kind of like now it's the client timeline, and the dog's usually 16 months, almost 2 years old at the point that they're issued to a client.
Sure. And Jan, I mean, it's such an interesting journey that these puppies go through from birth all the way up to when they're going to get employed. And then Debbie, back to you.
Yes.
As a person that does own a leader dog, can you describe the connection that you both develop? What is that connection like, and how do you know what dog is right for you?
You've kind of asked an interesting question along with your first one, so I'll address the second one first, because actually I can't go to Leader Dog and say, hey, you see that male golden over there? That's the golden I want. His name's Patrick and I want him. No, that doesn't happen at all, because first of all, I have to be accepted into the program.
Okay.
And they look at everything about me, my personality, what I do in my daily activities, my environment where I live, where the dog would have to work with me. For instance, my pace also, how fast or slow I walk,
Okay.
before they consider which dog they're going to match to me. So as a client, I love the question on the application that says, is there something I would prefer? Because I kind of giggle each time I see that, because truthfully, they promised me a nose, a tail, and 4 paws.
Well, that's preferred, isn't it?
Right, exactly. But when we are in class, if it's your first dog, you're there for 26 days right on campus.
Okay.
And when successor dogs, because we already know then the harness commands and things like that, they're looking more at, is the dog going to bond with us? Is this going to be a successful team?
Sure.
Can they actually work together and be safe and independent?
Sure.
So that's what we have to achieve. But even when we leave class, we're still a long ways from what we call seasoned. And a seasoned team is one where really pretty much Patrick knows what I expect of him, and I can read his signals. Even it kind of goes up and down the leash.
Okay.
So I always like to say the gray on Patrick's face and my little bit of gray, that's our seasoning. So, and Patrick truthfully does. I do a lot of activities, and I like a dog that will pattern or target.
Okay.
So for instance, I can go somewhere just one time, tap a door and say, in the mall, this is Macy's, or go over to Kohl's and tap the door and say, this is Kohl's.
Okay.
After that, Patrick will take me, by me just saying, Patrick, take me to Macy's.
Oh my
take me to
goodness.
Kohl's. Or if I'm in a hotel room on a Lions convention, which I attend, Jan and I frequently, you know, we tap the door. She shows me the door one time. I tap it and I say, Patrick, this is our room. After that, Jan and I can be together anywhere's on the hotel grounds, and I can say, you know what, I need to run back to the room.
Yeah.
And I'll just say, we'll be back. And I just tell Patrick, I get up and say, take me back to the room. And that could consist of going between buildings. It could be just up and down floors, from one end to another. It doesn't matter. He always gets me back to the right room.
It must just give you a very good sense of security as well, because if something
definitely.
happens, you know that Patrick is there to help you in an emergency.
Well, what I noticed even coming into your building today it's very icy out. Well, Patrick was, his thing to signal me, and not every dog does this, but this is Patrick's way of showing me. He takes little baby steps. So I knew it was dangerous, you know, and Jan, of course, she walked right up there because she can see the ice, and she went around it and up on the curb.
Sure.
Well, she knows that she needs to be patient because Patrick's doing his thing, you know, and that was it. She goes, yeah, I got it, Patrick, you know, I see what you're doing, you know.
Sure.
So, and we did, we got to the curb, we'll get there. It's just sometimes we go different from A to B than what someone with sight might. But he knows to take me the safest route.
Debbie, you talked about the Lions Club, and I understand that you recently were given a very distinguished honor in the Lions Club. You received the President's Award, is that correct?
Yes, I actually received that award. We have one at Leader Dog, and they just initiated this maybe about 7 or 8 years ago, I'm thinking now, if my memory is correct.
Okay.
And it's given to us by the CEO and president of Leader Dog.
Oh, wow.
And the qualifications are that we have to be in some way specially, that we've some way specially helped Leader Dog.
Okay.
And we've been that liaison between the Lions organization, which is the largest service organization internationally. Yet we have local clubs almost in every city. And then, so there's some other qualifications too, and I was very honored to receive that from Lions CEO and President, excuse me, Leader Dog CEO and President Sue Daniels.
Wow, and
so it's very special to me.
Oh, well, I think that's wonderful, and congratulations on the award.
Thank you.
And I think it says a lot about you and your you know, compassion for the dogs, but also your commitment to the organization and what they stand for. So congratulations.
Thank you very, very much. And I'll just say, too, that because of what I saw Lions do when I got my first dog, what their influence was on that campus, I vowed that when I got home I was going to become a Lion, and I did. And I've been a Lion ever since, and of course now I've got more involved with them too. And that's a wonderful organization also. And it's a good fit for Leader Dog because since they founded us back in 1939, now 76 years ago, we get a lot of financial support from them, which equals about 20% of our annual budget. And we do not get anything from any government entity. We don't have any government financing or insurance financing or anything from United Way. It's strictly based on Lions and individuals that would like to donate and support our organization.
Sure.
And how that translates to a client like me is that these dogs are valued at around $39,000 to actually produce a dog in a team.
Wow, and that's 39,000 per dog.
Per dog, right,
Wow.
per team.
Yeah.
And you know what it cost me? Nothing.
Oh my goodness.
It's such a wonderful blessing. Every service that Leader Dog gives to clients is free.
Wow.
There's no charge. And if you live in the North American continent, they will fly you free, your travel expenses. They take care of your food, everything while you're on campus. I mean, harness and the leash are free, the dog is free. It's just a wonderful blessing and a wonderful gift.
Oh yeah, and I think that is one of the many things, in my opinion, that makes this country the best.
Yes.
Amen.
So wonderful.
Totally agree with you. Thank
Wonderful. Well, and I want to get back to you too, Jan. I mean, aside from a lot of what you do with the leader dogs. I wanted to ask you, because I was very curious, what led you, I mean, what circumstances led you into even getting involved with leader dogs?
This lady right here. Yeah, I have a funny story. I own Westland Lock and Key, so I do a lot of community service. So I own my own business. I've been in business. We're celebrating our 50th year this year.
Congratulations.
And so I'm a golfer, and we have a good friend that is a Lion that had a Lions outing, golf outing. So anybody who knows or does anything with golfing, you usually go out, do your golfing, and then there's a little dinner banquet at the end of the golf outing. So we go into the banquet, and there's this lady with her dog. And I was just, and I'm a dog lover anyway, animal lover, and I watched her for a good 2 hours, navigating through the crowd, people talking to her, and so finally I went over and I said to her, I am just blown away by what your dog is doing for you. I've never truly seen a leader dog, and I didn't even know what to call it at that time. I've never seen a guide dog, I said. And she said, he's a leader dog. She introduced me to Patrick, and Patrick was very young at the time. He was, I think, what, you were a fresh team then,
yeah,
like
he was
2 or 3
only
years?
about, yep,
3 years old?
two,
Yeah.
yeah.
So for him being so young and to blow me out of the water, I was like, wow. So I said, how can I be part of that?
Yeah.
And
My
here I
favorite
am.
question.
Yeah, and so she's like, oh boy,
She corrupted
a green
you.
one.
Yeah.
So 7 dogs later, here I am. But we do so much with leader dogs. I mean, I raise the puppies, but we also travel, and I'm so passionate about the program now. I mean, I just really love the dogs, love the people I work with, and love the process and what they do. So that's how I got started with Deb, Dayton, and Patrick. Were showing off their skills, and it made me ask some questions. So,
Yeah.
you know, like I say, here 7 years later, here I am. So, and very happy to be here. Never a dull moment.
Well, and Jan, I can say that I think, you know, with all the service that you do in training the dogs and really starting them off on the right foot, it makes a huge impact.
It does.
So.
It does. And you know, people, one of the big questions I get are, how can you give that dog back? Or how can you give it up?
Right. How can you?
Well, when you get to meet the client, and they allow us to meet the client, most clients, there are some home deliveries, but when the client is issued the dogs, and they're still at leader dog, there is one day that they'll allow the puppy raisers to come in and meet the client, if it's okay with the client. And when you get to meet that client, and they sit there tearfully and thank you for just being a part of this wonderful puppy's life. And you know how many good things do a lot of us do in life that we don't get to see the end result? You know, we're good about it. We don't need to see the end result. But when you do get to see the end result, it's a priceless moment for me. It is a tearful, joyful, wonderful thing, you know. But and then I'm one of the puppy raisers that does like to communicate with the clients that get my puppies still, find out how they're doing, and interact with them. So yes, so that's the reason I do it, is for that. And I'll continue doing it for that all day long. I'll give them back as many as I can.
Oh, wonderful. And,
Excuse me,
you.
Zach,
Sure.
can I ask Jan to add something to that?
Sure.
Jan, could you talk a little bit about Nico?
I had puppy number 5 was a yellow lab. His name was Nico. And all of us puppy raisers get to name our puppies, right? Whatever method we want to use. Well, Nico was named after my grandson, Nicholas, okay? Nico is Greek for Nicholas. So Nico was kind of just a special little dog, and he was laid back from the moment I got him, and he just went through and did everything I asked him to do, just a great dog. Got back to leader dog, and 2 or 3 months into the time he was at leader dog, I started hearing some news, and I was like, and they usually try to give us a little report. Your puppy's doing well, they're in this stage, they're in this stage, blah, blah. Well, Nico had excelled through all those stages, and he was going to be in the blind deaf program.
Wow.
Which is a special program that only a few dogs go through.
Okay.
So leader dog not only has blind clients, but deaf clients as well. And this young man, Jason, is blind and deaf. He's a very young, astute young man. He works for the Department of Defense. He lives in the Washington, D.C. area. And my little Nico and Jason were paired up. And he's not only helping Jason with you know, leading him places, but also assisting him in when the doorbell rings, when the phone rings. There's different things that they needed to train Nico for to make him aware that something else was going on.
Yeah.
So I'm totally honored, and I've been able to meet Jason and Nico, go to visit him in his hometown and see them work together.
Oh, man.
And it's just another priceless moment. So yeah, so it's really cool, but a lot of folks don't realize that we have that type of program again. It's unique, you know, so.
No, definitely.
So-
That's wonderful, and what a high-powered job he has now.
Yeah, and they actually, Jason is a poster child for Leader Dog, so they have big posters of him, so I was able to get one of those posters.
Oh, great.
And so now I have that set up in my showroom at my shop.
Oh, that's awesome.
So it's pretty cool. People walk in and they see that, they're like, whoa, who's that? There's Nico, who's he with, you know?
Sure, sure. That's great.
It's a good talking point.
It was a good talking point, yes. Thanks for mentioning that.
And again, too, it's another one of those programs that Leader Dog is on the leading edge of.
Sure.
Because we are the only school that has dedicated ASL, you know, interpreters right on campus, and they do a class twice a year for those types of clients. So, had Helen Keller still been able to, she could have came to a program like that and received a dog for independent and safe travel.
Well, and so really quick, I wanted to ask you too, Debbie, what do you feel as a Leader Dog owner? What are the biggest misconceptions?
That Patrick, as Jan kind of mentioned, never gets any time off. You know, I get asked that question too all the time, and he's just like us. When I'm ready to take my slippers off or my shoes off and put my slippers on, he's ready to get out of that harness and be just a dog. And that's another kind of myth, because Patrick, he's all calm and quiet and everything as he's laying here. If I was to take his harness off, he would be just a dog, and he'd be running all over the place. He's got a high level of energy, even at 10 years old. So those are probably the biggest myths, unless Jan can think of possibly something else that I've talked about before.
Well, just because a lot of times we'll be together, and just because Deb is, you know, visually impaired, people think she can't hear, or she can't do some other things too, you know, and and that I think happens with a lot of folks with disabilities. You know, somebody sees you with a disability and they think, oh, the rest of the package is disabled too, and it's not. And we make sure that people are understanding, and we'll go into a restaurant and they'll hand her a menu, and it's like, do you have anything in Braille? And a lot of times they don't, so we're making them aware of that too. And you know, it's like, well, she can't see, so give me the menu and I'll interpret it for her. But it's it's kind of cute in a lot of ways.
No, and thank you so much, ladies, for bringing that up. And I want to thank you all for watching the show. That's all the time we have for today, folks. But I want to thank Jan and Debbie for joining us in studio, and hope that you can tune in to Ann Arbor Inclusive next month. Stay awesome, Ann Arbor.